I got a very good question from one of my subscribers, and it's how do I personally deal with rejection? And this makes sense. I remember when I started, rejection was the thing I was fearing the most. I was really afraid that, if I just start something and the girl basically rejects me, that it's going to be the end of the world, that everybody is going to know, that I'm going to feel like shit, that she's going to make fun of me, and that it's going to be a big deal. Later on, I accepted to step up and try to get there, but that anxiety when it comes to being rejected was still there a little bit. And then I found a secret for myself that works for myself all the time to get rid of this anxiety of being rejected. In a sense, being rejected is natural. You definitely cannot live in a society where you have zero mindfulness about what others think of you. But in our society, this takes huge proportions simply because we're wired to think that significance, meaning what you value, is the only thing that matters actually. And with social media and seeing everybody out there and likes everywhere, this culture of being liked is just so ingrained in our brain that it's hard to unwire and replace the program. Especially with social media, we we are not designed to worry about what 10,000 people think about us. Definitely, social proof and worrying about what your family thinks of you, your spouse thinks of you, your close social circle thinks of you. That's important. But we are not meant to care what others think, especially those that we don't know, that have no impact on our lives. And the the illusion created by social media that everybody cares about you is a nonsense. So I started to think a little differently. I started to think about rejection that way. It kind of makes sense that you are not going to connect with 95% of people on this planet. And so 95% of women out there, you're just not going to connect. Even if it works out, you have a good time, whatever, on the long run, you are not going to connect on personality wise or life directions wise. So it's actually very hard to really connect with people on a deep level. So most of our connections happen in the moment. And then they can be deep in the moment, but they don't really have a meaningful impact on our life on the long term. The second thing that I realized is, well, for women, it's the same. You also need to be part of those 5% that they are going to match with on the long term. So if you think about it, you're attracted by pretty much 5% attracted. You can connect deeply on the long run with 5% of women. And out of those 5 women, you need to be part of their 5%. So on the scale of the planet, this leaves a huge opportunity, and there are a lot of women out there with whom you're going to connect for the rest of your life. That's exactly the point of what I'm doing. But it also means that most of them you're not going to connect. And what's the best way to screen that than rejection and being rejected? So since I realized that, I started to think that maybe being rejected is a good thing. And then I started to thank women that would reject me after every single rejection. This was the thing that, hello, there is a nice cute dog here. And so I started to wire myself to appreciate rejection, to be grateful for it. Because when you think about that, it's just a matter of how you decide to feel about certain things. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's weird. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it can make you angry. Of course, it can make you sad. But after that, you can rewire that with gratefulness. And you can think, well, thanks for that. There is something to learn there. There is something to learn. Maybe I can find that there was something that we disconnected on. And it may be something that I can put into my own standards, because that's also something that I don't like. And on the other hand, there are those guys that kind of get with this mindset of, well, it doesn't matter what rejection does, and it doesn't matter if I get rejected, and they just go there just with the mindset of playing to not lose instead of playing to win. And that doesn't make sense, because after that, if you're playing to not lose, meaning you're not going for, as deep as you can in the connection, you don't learn anything, you don't make those meaningful connections, and basically you just have very shallow interactions, usually a phone number, no reply, and that's it. So the key is, when you reframe rejection in the way that what scares you in the rejection is what can make you grow and what potentially can create meaningful connections, that's where you start to grow fast. So being grateful for rejection, for being rejected, is interesting, because the more you get rejected by those 95% that you don't connect with, then you're more likely to really know what your niche is, what are the types of girl with whom you connect. And you learn that by going 100% all the time. Even if you think that, well, this is never going to work out, you go 100%, you try to figure out where you connect, and you learn how to find those points of connection with everybody. And then you will feel what is a true rejection, or what is just a shallow rejection. And finally, you can also learn to leverage rejection. And that actually comes really in play in your entire life. When you're starting a business, you're certainly going to contact a lot of potential clients, and many of them are going to say no, simply because you haven't built the value yet, you haven't built your identity yet. And this is very similar to dating, where you haven't necessarily built your charisma, you haven't necessarily built your standards, you don't really know what you want, you don't really know who you are, you worry a lot, you think that everything matters a lot. And in business, you're going to reach out to a lot of clients, and the more you're going to do it, and the more you're going to reflect on each and every single one of them, what worked, what didn't, what was great, is that the type of client that I want to talk to, or is it someone else? This parallel applies to women as well. You're going to find that there are women with whom you connect, others with whom you don't, and rejection becomes a blessing in this case. You can leverage that by knowing that every time you get rejected, this is a huge motivation to contact someone else. So you can internalize those feelings, and then repurpose that on something else. Take this energy that is coming through, the anger, the sadness, the fears. These are energies that you can learn to leverage into a different direction, something that is more creative, something that allows you to grow, something that allows you to connect, something that allows you to give back. And the final tip that I want to give you is, don't take yourself too seriously. Like, really, nobody cares about what you think. I encourage you to go on the street and set a timer and lie on the floor for 2 minutes. You're going to find that there might be 1 or 2 people in those 2 minutes that are going to come to you and possibly ask you if you're okay. Most people will just, they're on their phone, so they will just look at you and they come back to their regular life. You can start to shout and scream on the streets, and this is exactly how you learn to deal with rejection in the first place. Just testing your boundaries and test how you react to it, and see that it's not a big deal.